All right, I am going to open the doors for a couple more people still jumping in here, and I would like to go ahead and get the ball rolling here and introduce our spotlight speaker, because I have been counting down the days until they would be here to do this presentation. Drone Harmony is a platform that I am just now myself learning about, and we are lucky to have them here as our spotlight speaker. So we have Chaim and David here to share about Drone Harmony. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot for having us.
All right, you are officially a spotlight speaker. I still have to get Chaim in here. And can you tell us a little bit, just to get the ball rolling, a little bit about how you became involved with Drone Harmony?
Of course. Should I start? Probably yes. I'll start. I'll let Chaim take it from there. So my name is David. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm David. It's a pleasure to meet everyone. I'm quite honored to see such a beautiful and big crowd. I'm one of the founders of Drone Harmony. The ideas of Drone Harmony actually started probably 15 years ago when my brother and I were still tinkering with ideas about robotics and automation and stuff like that. I was way younger, he was way younger. Everybody had big dreams and aspirations about how the robotics world will take over humanity in a positive way, and we want to be part of it in some way. So 10 years later, when we realized in that time there was no real platforms to apply what we thought were our great ideas to, kind of the drone revolution started, and that's when we decided to apply some of our ideas from the world of automation, process automation, into this new exciting field. And we started Drone Harmony in 2016. I come from a background of mathematics. I'm an applied mathematician by trade. And for me, a lot of the problems that we're trying to solve here with Drone Harmony have a very, let's say, a root that's very close to my heart, to my background. And for me, it was a very natural transition to start Drone Harmony together with Martin and my brother. And soon after Chaim joined, he will tell you about that. I'll tell you today a little bit about what we do, and I'll show you what we're doing. Chaim, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you, David. Thank you very much for having us, and great to meet all of you. My story is actually very simple. I define myself as a serial entrepreneur. I had several startups, and because of my wife's job, we moved to Switzerland. And I met David for a dinner, very tasty one, I can tell you. And the rest is history. So I'm already almost 4 years in the company, and I'm responsible for business development. So this is myself. Thank you.
It feels like Chaim is with us from the very beginning. I said that we started 15 years ago, but our real journey started more or less when Chaim came aboard. So he is a fundamental core team member. Yeah.
Well, I know you have a presentation that you are going to be sharing with us. So if you'd like to go ahead and share screen, we could get the ball rolling that way if you'd like.
Perfect. I will. So thank you, everybody. I hope you're having a good morning or early afternoon. It's evening down here in Switzerland, but luckily it's summer, so it's still way bright and nice. So I'll start sharing my screen.
So you guys are in Switzerland?
We are in Switzerland. Yes, we are in Zurich, Switzerland.
Nice.
Which is the European capital of the drone technology.
We want to see drone shots.
Drone shots. I will show you Switzerland, but maybe not in a way that you expected to see it. But in a beautiful way, I hope. So I think I'll jump into it. I know that it's usually 10 to 15 minutes that are allocated to this kind of presentation, and I really hope that we'll have a nice Q&A afterwards. I'm not planning to dive into any great detail in anything, just kind of give you a quick introduction of the company, of what we're doing. And the best way to introduce our company is just to show you our product. That's what I'm planning to do for the most part in this quick presentation. So the title is The Benefits of 3D in Drone Data Acquisition via Drone Harmony. And you will see that the 3D aspect of what we're doing is very prevalent in everything that's related to our products and our philosophy of how we address the data acquisition problem, or the data acquisition challenge, maybe one should say. So let me see if my slides roll here. Yes. So I already introduced myself, so I won't spend too much time here. I'm VP Product in the company, a co-founder. And this is my email address, david@droneharmony.com. And everybody here in the call is more than welcome to reach out to me personally with any questions you have or any other reason. So feel free to reach out after the call for any form of interest. So what is our mission in Drone Harmony? So I summarize it here in one sentence. So what we want to do is want to help scale the commercial drone market with software solutions that address the data acquisition problem. So for us, the data acquisition problem is the parts of the drone workflow that are related to planning flights. So planning flights, by planning flights, we mean here today the trajectory, the actual trajectories of the flights, designing the flight routes, the camera angles that the drone has to take pictures at or take other sensory data at, as well as the execution of the flights. So all of the process that's related to the physical acquisition of the data. That's what we call data acquisition. Of course, there's a lot that comes before and usually a lot that comes after data acquisition. And Drone Harmony is kind of positioned in this part of the value chain, the data acquisition part. So this is pretty much all of the slides that I've presented, except for a couple that I'll show in the end. But basically, from now on, what I want to show you is kind of the platform in a very rough overview kind of manner. Before I do that, just to tell you kind of what is the product in its more general sense. So we call it the Drone Harmony platform, and it's composed of 3 main applications. And the applications are the Drone Harmony web application, the Drone Harmony mobile application, and the Drone Harmony cloud. And as you can imagine, those things are kind of working together and fully integrated one with the other. So the Drone Harmony web application is the primarily kind of planning tool. That's the engineer in the office working on data acquisition missions that will be carried out in the future. Drone Harmony Mobile is also a planning tool, but primarily also a flight execution tool, automated flight execution tool. That would be your ground station, kind of in the drone language. And Drone Harmony Cloud is a cloud service that's tying the things together. It helps with collaboration, moving things around between mobile and web, as well as storage and some of the heavier computation that are happening within Drone Harmony. So what I'll show you today is Drone Harmony Web, and this should give you kind of an impression of what Drone Harmony is and how it achieves it. Yeah, maybe one thing that I told Desi before, and I am happy to say here as well, is if you have questions, feel free to just shout and interrupt. Otherwise, I have this tendency of speaking and speaking and speaking and not leaving too many gaps in between. So from here, I'll switch over to my web browser. So as I said, we have 3 products: Drone Harmony Web, Mobile, and Cloud. Web and mobile, the 2 kind of front-end applications that are visible to the user, have very similar feel and touch. And I'll show you the web, and this should give you a good idea of how the mobile application also looks like. So I'll full screen this here. And now basically I'm jumping into the demo. So Drone Harmony is, you can think about it as a GIS type system that's designed for the sole purpose of planning good flight missions for our inspection and mapping tasks. So kind of as a very basic layer, we have a map. And in this map, we have certain tasks that we're planning. So here you see that I'm fully zoomed out and I have a bunch of overlays here. So let me zoom into the area on the map where I actually have some flight planning going on. So I'll click here on the center view, and you see that we've zoomed in into somewhere in beautiful Switzerland. So when I was asked if I'm going to show Switzerland, so this is one way I'm showing Switzerland, but I'll show Switzerland in another way in just a second. And here you can see on the map that we have 4 inspection sites where we're performing some sort of flight planning, data acquisition planning. So we have those 4 blue circles, and those represent what we might think of as inspection sites. Inspection sites can be something like, here we're planning a mapping mission, so that will be one inspection site. Somewhere else we're planning a building inspection, that would be another inspection site. So here we have the ability of having kind of an overview, bird's eye view of several inspection sites. We can delete them from our site. They're of course stored in the cloud, so nothing gets lost. But as a management platform, we can have several of them at the same time. We can have kind of an enterprise overview for data acquisition is happening on a map view. So let's now zoom into one of these sites and see what we actually have as far as flight planning goes. So I'm going to zoom into this area onto this site here, which is kind of in the center of the city of Zurich. And when I double click on it, we start seeing a bit more of the details behind this one inspection site. So you see that we have a bunch of overlays here, and this is the beginning of where Drone Harmony starts kind of to where we start seeing somehow the philosophy of how Drone Harmony is going about data acquisition. So what we see here is we see some colorful polygons. Those polygons represent assets that we would like to inspect, or no-fly zones. Anything that's a geometric kind of primitive that's out there in the world that can be relevant for our flight planning task. So this can be the building that we're inspecting. This can be buildings around the building that we're inspecting that are close enough for them to be relevant for our flight planning. This can be a no-fly zone. It can be a point of interest. All of these things constitute what we call a scene. So this is a scene. And we have also some missions. So we have a bunch of missions here, and I can click on just one mission to take a look at how a mission looks like in its details. So I've clicked on this mission that we call kind of mapping orbits. And you see here that we have access to the single waypoints in that mission. So we see it's a waypoint mission. I can zoom further in. I can interact. On the level of a single waypoint, we get some statistics on that mission and so on and so forth. So we have, so far we've seen that we can interact with the platform on various different levels. On the level of inspection sites, overview of what we're doing where. On the level of one inspection site to see where things are, as well as going all the way down to waypoints in a single mission, or the outline of a specific zone, no-fly zone, or things like this. So what's special about Drone Harmony? So what's special about Drone Harmony is that Drone Harmony actually works in 3D and not in 2D. And that's where we start entering kind of the 3D aspect of the platform. So we have 3 views in Drone Harmony. So far, we've been in map view all the time. So now I switch to 3D view. And in a couple of minutes, I'll also show you the 3rd view, and that's where we're going to start seeing Switzerland again. So now that I've switched to 3D view, you start seeing much more of the complexity of this inspection sites. So here we have some of those overlays that we've seen before actually represent buildings, and we see those buildings. Other represent some no-fly zones like this one, which is above the rail tracks in that area, and we see the missions. And here you start seeing some of the advantages of the 3D environment. So first off, we have a very, very good visualization tool that shows us exactly what's going to happen as it relates to the environment already in the office when we're planning. We also have the ability to interact with the missions in a much more complicated way than it would be possible just on a map view. So for example, if I want to select a bunch of waypoints, I can just do this here in 3D view. And I can, for example, delete those waypoints or move them or do anything that I desire. And I have access to various parts of these kind of vertical missions without any challenges, just because I can navigate around it as if I'm navigating around 3D model. So these are all advantages, but the key advantage of the 3D is the automation of flight planning. And that's what I want to show you next. And that's almost the end of my presentation. I promised to show you Switzerland again, so I'll do that. But I also want to show you kind of the process of planning flights, as well as touch upon some of the ways that we have to import information into Drone Harmony in order to create such a scene. That's of course probably a question that pops up in many of your minds. How can I arrive at such a nice scene? So let's simplify a little bit. And by simplify, what I can do here is I can go here to the filters. Let's move this zoom window away. And I'm in this site called Industrial Site Zurich. I know this because I see the name up here. And I can remove the visibility of all the plans. So this is a visibility filter tab. If I want to see only part of my state, I can do it through here. I can also, of course, go into single missions and turn visibility on and off for single missions. That's easy as well. So let's finally see how flight planning actually works in Drone Harmony. So once we have a scene like that, which we still have to tell you how to arrive at, how to create, we can go here to the plus on the bottom right, and we can choose a pattern that we would like to apply. So the workflow in Drone Harmony is create a scene, choose a pattern, choose what part of the scene you want to apply the pattern to, choose parameters, and that's it. So let's do it now. So let's say that we want to inspect a facade of one of the buildings. So for facade, I will go here to mapping and inspection. I'll go all the way down here to inspection. And here I'll pick one of the two facade type missions. So let's pick verticals. The next thing I'm asked to choose is, okay, I have a certain scene here, and this scene has certain primitives that represent buildings, no-fly zones. I'm asked to tell the app what is the asset to which I want to apply this pattern. So they're all called building. I could, of course, name them in a more meaningful way, but this time I didn't do it. But I know by the shape that I want to inspect this L-shaped blue building here. So I choose that one. And the rest of the workflow is kind of guided through. So select the point of liftoff. So let's say I want to lift off around here. Of course, we can be a bit more careful about choosing it. And then we enter this kind of dual window where on the left, we select certain parameters. And on the right, we have a mission that's already visualized on top of our scene. So this is the advantage of the 3D when we do data acquisition or planning of data acquisition. We can both automate the generation of complex missions as well as visualize them while we're building them. So let's say I want to inspect the entire circumference of this building. So at the moment, I see that I only have a mission for this back part of the building. So to do that, all I need to do is go to the coverage tab and crank up the scan extent all the way to 100%. So by doing that, there is a short computation, and I have a mission that's exactly what I asked for. Of course, we can control other parameters, distance, offset from the bottom, things like this. So let's say we want to fly a bit further away. I can change that parameter as well. And all of the adjustments happen on the fly. And I can really take a look and see, is this exactly the data that I want to capture? Does it look like a safe flight? And you will also notice that all of the other aspects of the scene, all the other buildings, no-fly zones, they play a role as well. They play a role of obstacles. So we're planning around the obstacles already at this stage. We're not just relying on obstacle avoidance of the drone to stop the drone when we reach a certain danger in the field. We have a flight statistics tab that helps us understand how much resources will it take to actually fly this, how much data will be collected. And when we're happy, we just click on save, give this mission a new name, and this is yet now a new mission in our scene that we can save to the cloud and execute in the field. And again, this is not a static mission. If I now want to make some changes, for example, I don't like where these waypoints are, I can just delete them, or I can choose other waypoints and I can rotate them. So I have access to the low level kind of nitty-gritty of the different of the different aspects of the mission if I need to. Of course, in the best case scenario, we plan a mission, we generate a beautiful site, plan a mission, and that's the mission that we're going to fly. But those tools need to be there both in mobile and web app to account for changes between what we planned and what we actually see in the field and so on. So this is flight planning. So what can we do in Drone Harmony in terms of flight planning? What kind of use cases? So inspection type use cases. For this, we have an internal kind of modeling environment that allows you to create these kind of scenes. There are various ways to achieve this. Let's go back to map view real quick. So there's various ways of setting up a scene like this. The easiest and simplest and most manual way is just to outline things. I can zoom all the way down to the map and start outlining a new building. This is something that's useful if the map information contains the information that I need to outline this building. So I can give it now a new height, for example, some maybe 20 meters, and I have a new building in my inspection site. Here it is right here. So let's now choose and delete it. So that's one way, but there's many ways of doing something like this. Another way of doing this is to import Kml Kmz files. Another way is to use our magic selection tool. For example, this building icon over here allows us to import through an integration with OpenStreetMaps outlines and sometimes even heights of buildings. So if I do that, I have my scene populated very quickly with outlines of buildings and in some cases even the heights. It depends what the database of OSM has for the specific area. So those are ways that we can import, for example, this kind of information. Now let's look quickly at what can we do apart from inspection. So for this, I want to real quick jump into another type of data that we can use with Drone Harmony. So this is another inspection site. So you saw that I zoomed all the way out to my sites, and then I zoomed into another site, to this one. And here you see it's kind of simpler. We have something that looks like an outline of a road and an area, and we have a couple of missions here. So here I want to show you the third and last view in Drone Harmony, which is terrain view. So I'm switching now over to terrain view. And here in my account that we're working with now, I have access to the terrain data of Switzerland. And that's the second way that we will see Switzerland today, and that's through the terrain view in Drone Harmony. So you see that this is actually quite a detailed digital terrain model of the entire country. And our customers are able to work with us to embed their terrain data, even on the level of a full country, into Drone Harmony, and have it available as just kind of just like Google Maps is available everywhere. This terrain data is available always everywhere through every web client that if I'm logging in through my account. So this is the way that we enable bigger customers to work with their custom data. So this is an example of terrain-aware flight planning, where we have two very simple missions. This is just a mapping mission. This is a road inspection mission. And this is in mountainous Switzerland, so terrain-aware is important when we do something like this. So this is just another example. Of course, you can import your own terrain data through the web app. You won't be able to import a full country model at that level of resolution, but you will be able to import a local model without any problems. So this is another capability. And maybe I'll end by showing you a slightly steeper and more representative version of or a part of Switzerland. So I zoomed into yet another site now, and let's switch over to 3D view again. And yeah, if you travel around Switzerland, this is pretty much the landscape that you see all over the place. And kind of inspired by the complexity of the terrain in Switzerland, we're actually designing flight plans and missions that are much more complex than the simple terrain-aware flight planning. The reason we can do this is because we have kind of the algorithms and the framework around it to work with complex 3D data. in a very efficient manner. So this is, for example, a inspection mission of a part of a mountain, including a cliff. And that's not it's not a typical terrain following mission. You will see that it has different camera angles in different parts of this mission. So here, for example, all of those pictures down there look straight at the facade, and all of the pictures up here look straight at the terrain here. And this is a mission that we designed for several enterprise customers that are interested in mapping very steep terrains, things like cliffs, hangs over railroads, roads, and so on and so forth. So our technology kind of enables us to go into that level of complexity and even further. And what we have is kind of a platform that is able to feed this data into the visualization and into our planning engine, and then our smart people are designing the algorithms that actually enable automation of such mission planning. So that's another example. I want to stop here. I feel already I went over time. I believe there are probably some questions. Maybe one last thing I'll say is that we are integrated with DJI drones at the moment in a full sense, namely you can plan and fly DJI drones with Drone Harmony, web and mobile respectively. But we're working on more and more integrations, and we're very interested in adding more platforms that are supported through Drone Harmony. So we're working, and we will be announcing a couple more partnerships in the near future. And while we're primarily DJI now, we want to be kind of the go-to platform for every professional drone out there, essentially. Okay, so I think I've spoken enough, and I'll end it here. One last thing before, sorry that I keep on saying one last thing. I did have one more slide, and I'll share it now. Yeah, I think here. So for all of the participants of this meetup, we're happy to give away a 15% discount. If anyone is interested, if anyone wants to try, you have a month to try it. So we have 14 days to try the software for free anyway. Anyone can do this. And if you're here today and you decided this is something that you want to have for your business or for your organization, you can have 15% off. And yeah, with this, I will really end. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for the generous discount that you have put in there for women in drones. Definitely, I am going to take advantage of that. So it's such a dynamic software platform. I just love it. And it just caters to so many things that I absolutely love. The first one right out the gate was web-based. I like to do pre-flight planning ahead of time, and I don't want to scroll across states to put up my flight path. And so yes. I love that part of it. There are several questions that have popped up into our chat. If some people want to unmute themselves and ask the questions. I know Lynn was asking a lot about the cliffside monitoring, because that's a particular project that I know she's interested in. Lynn, did you have any questions that you wanted to address on that?
Well, it was basically so are we creating a 3D model with this, or would it be considered a map?
So that's a great question. So I'll start with the data that you will need in order to use that feature. So the data that you need is any terrain or surface model. So if you have a terrain model that you, for example, created by creating a photogrammetric output, maybe you made a survey mission just at a fixed altitude above everything, put it into Agisoft, Pix4D, anything like that, and that spit out a surface model or a terrain model. You can put that now into Drone Harmony and use all of these features. If you have a terrain model already, just put it straight into Drone Harmony. Another thing you can do is even use an integration we have with Airbus if you don't have and don't want to kind of bother creating your own model. Now, once you have that in there, So different people use this feature for different things. Definitely creating a very high resolution 3D model is a very common use case for this. I can give you an example. We have a customer here in Switzerland. It's a railway company. It's the biggest railway company that are using it to monitor the cliffs above rail tracks. And what they actually do is they create kind of 3D models in different time points, and they're trying to estimate by how much there was movement in the ground. And they also use the image set that they collect in the process to zoom in afterwards and really take a closer look where they found bigger displacement. This is one use case, but there are other use cases, and a lot of the time you would like to just have a map of the wall, and just getting a map of a wall like that is very challenging, even if you have a software that does terrain-aware planning. Terrain-aware planning traditionally is just put a grid on top of a map and then lift it up according to the terrain. And this is very different because here you have a mission that's able to cover the terrain from all of its sides, regardless of its complexity, and give you orthogonal shots at every part of it, given the overlap parameters, given the GSD that you need. So that's kind of the big advantage. When it comes to steep terrain, this is really a big advantage. So different outputs are possible.
That's great. Thank you. It sounds amazing. It sounds just like what I've been looking for. Now, are you able to save the mission for future use?
Yes, maybe this is something I'll just quickly show because I think it's worthwhile, and I realize I haven't really touched upon this. So in Drone Harmony, we work kind of with the concept of sites, and sites can have versions. We have an inspection site maybe where we're working on today, and we save a version of it. We save another version tomorrow, and all of this is archived. You don't really need to worry about overwriting things. So for example, this one here, this one that is called Inspection Industrial Site Zurich. If I right click on it, I can save the site. It asks me if I want to override the same site or I want to create a new entry in the database. I can overwrite it without a problem. So let's just overwrite it now. And now it's saved to the cloud, and it's now available in Drone Harmony Mobile. Now, if I want to load it, I can go up here and I go to Site Storage, Load Site. And here you see that under Industrial Site Zurich, I have already 10 archived versions. So either I load up the most recent one, or I can load an archived version of it. And you see that I have access to all of the archived versions with the timestamps of when they were saved. So definitely it's easy to save and to archive, and it's all kind of taken care of. You don't really save a single mission. In Drone Harmony, we encapsulated the concept, everything in a concept of a site. So that's all of the geometric objects that I showed you, as well as the mission. So that would be one site. You can have several missions in a site, and so on.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, we have several questions that have popped up. We are running out of time if we wanted to go to our breakout sessions, but it looks like we have a few more if we wanted to unmic really quick and run through them. Carolyn, do you want to ask your question? You had one, I saw that it pop up. Parker has a couple. Delisa, boy, we have a lot of questions in here.
Yes, David, thank you for the talk. I just wondered, one of the things we're looking at here is tree vegetation over our public transportation area. So it might be similar to your train operation out there in Zurich. And with the vegetation, are you able to take different angles of natural habitat growth in terms of your data points?
Yes, so in an application like this, so I can explain it on the example, let's say, of a road and vegetation growing around the road, and probably it will be kind of telling of how you would do it in other situations. So you can easily define a concept within Drone Harmony that is kind of a line shape that would represent the road. That can be a KML that you import ahead of time. And then you can create several missions for it. You can create a mission where you fly at a certain height, have a certain angle at the road. You can shift everything as well manually if you like. And you can, for example, have a couple of them, one with one gimbal angle, another one with another gimbal angle. So you can plan various kinds of missions and vary the parameters based on what exact angle you want to achieve. So definitely that would be something that's not hard to do within Drone Harmony. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I do see a couple other questions into the chat here, if we want to address them really quickly.
Would you like me to just read them and answer?
Okay, maybe we could just bust through. I know, it's just really going on long. Everybody has questions, that's great.
I can just comment that if you can just send me the questions afterwards, I can write
most of the questions I already answered.
Okay, but in any case, if first off, if anyone feels that their question wasn't answered, please just write me the question in an email afterwards, and I'll be more than happy to answer it at great length and detail. Chaim, did you notice any question that you didn't answer yet?
No, I think most of the questions I answered, and specifically the hill scan, cliff landslide situation. I probably would like to mention that we are focused specifically on automation of flight planning and autonomous flight execution. We are not in the image processing. So if anybody looking for something like this, we have partners, of course, which are doing this, but we are focusing specifically on flight planning automation.
Thank you, Chaim. I think one more question that's worth quickly addressing here is the syncing. So everything we do in the web, as soon as we save it, the way that I just showed a couple of minutes ago, this is automatically synced to the mobile and vice versa. If we work in the mobile, make a change to a flight plan, this is automatically synced to the web, of course, within the same user account. However, if I, for example, want to share some site with Chaim, who has another user account, I can export a state, and he can then import it within his own Drone Harmony account. So there is, that would be more like a file exchange, but within the same account, there is no real need for file exchange between mobile and web. It's all happening through the cloud automatically.
All right, we have about 7 minutes to go to a breakout session. I have incorrectly put the name in there. I'm sorry, but I have fixed it. And so
no problem.
The good
No
news
problem
is
at all.
the link is working perfect. So that part's in there. We do have a lot of questions in there. So I do encourage you reaching out to them and continuing the connection, because that's what we are all about. I do want to go ahead and go to the breakout sessions. I'll try to put you both into a separate room in case the conversation continues. Today, our topic for the room in just this few short minutes, we'll only have about 5-10 minutes to kind of talk, but will be about autonomous flights. And so I'll go ahead and open up the breakout sessions, and we can't thank you enough. Fabulous. That kind of wraps it up.